Well, welcome back to Missouri Valley Media Day here on the Field of 68. And we're now joined by Scott Nagy, who was one of the guys that made his debut at Southern Illinois on the Field of 68 in the opening day showcase in Sioux Falls last season. Scott, it's great to see you, man. Great to have you back. Your offseason was a little bit less turbulent than last year when we talked to you. So you have 5 returners coming back. You have a number of pieces that you're a little bit familiar with. What do you make of this roster, and how do you feel about your group of guys heading into this season?
A lot better. We have six returners, 8 new guys, but it just is. It's much more. One, I have my whole staff back, which I think is important because last year when we started this process, I only had one guy that had been with me, and that was Tay Gibbs, and I had all new staff members, all new players. I had to spend a lot of time teaching, trying to develop the culture. This year, we have 6 returning players, the entire staff back. So we just have a lot more people that know what we should be doing and what's important to me and to everybody else. And not that we had bad kids last year, but we didn't have what we would call, a team full of Salukis. And we really feel like we've done a much better job this year of collecting talent, but collecting guys that we feel like are going to be Salukis.
Scott, I know you tried to get a little bit longer, more athletic. You're more versatile this year. I remember you telling me last year, telling us that you're worried about your defense. And I think you've spent a lot of time, which is what you normally do, right, on your defense in the offseason. What's this team going to look like on that end of the court, you think?
Well, one, I've been frustrated with myself that I look at the last 2 years that my teams haven't been very good defensively, and so I turned that over to Steve Hawkins, who's my associate head coach, and he's let that be his focus. It's always my focus, even though I think most people would consider me more of an offensive coach. I'm really not. My mind always goes to defense and rebounding. But I've asked Coach Hawkins just to really focus on it, and so we feel like we're stronger, we're more athletic, we're longer. We've spent a lot of time this summer just focused on that, focused on our defense. Our offense is behind because of that, but I'm not concerned about that. I would much rather be better defensively, and I think we'll be fine offensively. But we're just deeper at every position. Last year, the one position we couldn't sustain an injury was at point guard, and that happened 5 games into the season with the loss of Elijah, and he tore his ACL, and we spent the rest of the year playing without a point guard, and it's hard to do in college basketball.
So the guy that I'm most interested to see this season for you guys is Isaiah Stafford. He's someone that's got a little bit of Valley experience. He had a really good season at Valpo in 23-24. But I believe he was injured last season, so he didn't play. What have you seen out of him? How healthy is he? And what kind of impact do you think that he can have with you guys this year?
Well, he is healthy. He's coming off of an ACL, and so he sat out last year. When he got to us in the summer, he had just been cleared to go full. And so he's been doing that. I think, probably always the biggest hurdle for those guys is the mental hurdle, but we feel like he's done a pretty good job of getting over that. But he does have great experience in the league. He averaged 17 points a game 2 years ago. And
pretty good.
I think a lot of people have high expectations for him, and they should. He's been a good leader for us. He's a very experienced college basketball player. He's been in this area because he played at John A. Logan, which is just about 10 miles from here. And so, it feels a little bit like home for him, I think, in that respect. But he's been a very good player for us, one of our best shooters at this point. Big, thick guard, strong, can play both positions, the 1 and the 2. And so we just think that he's going to help us a lot. The one thing I would like to see him change is he become more efficient offensively. I think when he played for Valpo 2 years ago, he had to take a lot of tough shots, and hopefully we won't have to require that of him this year.
Drew Steffi's a kid who came on, last season. I think he was trying to find his footing early, obviously sat out his freshman year, but really came on late and played very well for you down the stretch. How important is it to have a guy back like that? Because, Scott, we know in this day and age, it's hard when you have this much turnover. And there's teams in your league, let's face it, like you and I, you look at and they bring almost everything back. How important is it to have a kid like Drew back?
Yeah, I think anytime you can bring anybody back, it's important. And he obviously Drew's used to our coaching. There's nothing new for him. He'll just go forward from there, be more confident, which is what happened to him last year. He struggled early, and then he gained great confidence and shot the ball well, like we thought he could at the end of the season. And so, yeah, there are high expectations. I think someone told me, I don't pay attention to this stuff, but somebody told me he's our leading returning scorer in league, particularly in league. And so, to have him back is important for us. And he's a redshirt sophomore, so he's still one of the older guys on our team.
I remember last year as we were getting ready for the opening day showcase, we were talking to you a little bit about your roster and your team, and you were raving about Rollins Aligbe. And it seems like you liked him so much that you were like, I got to get more of the Aligbe family members into my program. So you went out and you got his brother from Seton Hall. Now you got Prince, you got Rollins. It looks like that might be your front court here. What have you seen out of Rollins heading into his sophomore season? And is he happy now that his brother's there? We got a little sibling rivalry going on at the front court.
Well, that's with those two. I think that's always the case, which is good because it raises the level of practice. The biggest concern I think probably for both of them and the family was, will they be competing for playing time, those kind of things. But we can really play both of them at multiple positions, so it doesn't have to be that they're competing, because we think that Prince can play the 3 and the 4, and Rollins can play the 4 and the 5. And so, we I think we're able to convince Prince that he wasn't going to be competing with his brother all the time for all the playing time. But yeah, it's a great family. They both have great energy and great fight to them, and obviously very big, strong, physical guys. And so it does raise the level of practice.
All right, Scott. It is not easy coming up with dirt on you. You know that. Like, it's not. I mean, I can go to a lot of different people, a lot of assistant coaches. Not the easiest thing to do. I mean, we can go the Cowboys route, right? I mean, we know you're a big Cowboys fan, and right now,
I guess, yeah. You have to wonder, why would you be a Cowboys fan at this point?
Well, you have no choice. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
what you think of Jerry. Jerry might, want to sell the team soon.
Yeah.
But I do have one thing. I do have one thing that I was able to uncover about you. Is it true or false that you were on Dancing with the Stars back when you were at South Dakota State local? Rob's looking at me like he was on the real. No, not the real one. Not the real
No.
one, but a local South Dakota State Dancing with the Stars. Is this true?
It is true. It was back during a period when we were making that transition, and I almost felt like I had to do anything to connect with people and still hold on to their favor. It was, I can tell you, it was an out of the box, almost an out of soul experience for me, because it's not my nature to do something like that. But I did enjoy it. I told they assigned me somebody from the dance program, and I told her, I said, if I'm going to do this, we're going to win it. That's the only reason I'm doing this. And we actually did win the whole thing. And so, but there were some dances in there I wasn't overly proud of.
Give me the one dance that you just absolutely bombed. Do you remember?
When you say, oh, like didn't do well, the one that was the worst was the contemporary one. That was awful. It was, I mean, it was awful. And unfortunately, my players can still find those things on video, and so I'm not overly happy. I wish those things would have been erased.
Rob is so excited to hear that.
Well, I wish we would have known this last year when you guys were up there in Sioux Falls with us, because I promise you that there would have been no TV timeouts. There would have been, all right, let's see Scott Nagy do the cha-cha. All right, let's see him do the electric slide.
It was tough. I would have to go home at night and practice with my wife. She would come to the practices, and then she would practice with me at home. It was a mess. It was a mess.
All right, I'm gonna try to steer this thing back onto the rails if I can. Another guy that I vividly remember you raving about last year was Damian Mayo. It was just kind of your junkyard dog, do everything, connective piece. Um, he's a senior now. He's been with you. What have you seen out of him this summer, and has he kind of embraced that leadership role that he was stepping into last season?
Yeah, he's always been that guy. So, when he likes that role, he just does whatever needs to be done. He made several big time plays for us last year that don't necessarily show up on stat sheets and things like that. But he's our motor. He's the guy we look to get us going emotionally, and he does a great job there. We do have five seniors this year, but I would say he's the one we lean on the most in terms of the just the emotion and the fight.
Scott, what or who's been the biggest surprise? Because again, you didn't know a lot of these guys. Who's been the one guy that really surprised you in the offseason?
We've actually had one is a redshirt freshman, Jaheim Weber, who has really played well for us, at the center position, and done very well. And he was out 4 weeks this summer, and he came back after the 4 weeks, and it looked like he had never been out. And that's not easy to do for a guy that's 260 pounds. He's a big man. And so he shot 70% this summer. You can say, well, that's because it's bad defense, but he's big and he gets good shots. The other freshman who is a true freshman is Jalen Haynes, who is a 6'3", 6'4" guard that we brought in. He's from Dallas, played at Sunshine Academy, and just a tremendous athlete. Has played very well and is competing for time, we think, probably this year.
Do you feel like you're able to get access to a little higher level of recruit right now at the Valley's level than you would have maybe 5 or 6 years ago, as some of these high major Power 5 programs kind of focus on going after transfers and going after the 22 and 23-year-olds?
Yeah, I think if you're talking about coming out of high school, and then the question is,
Yep.
it's great if you can get them, but if they have any success, can you keep them? That's the fight. And so, really it's how much access do you have to money and to the NIL and to the revenue share, to be able to get them and then to be able to keep them. And so that's the fight. And, it's just that we know it's different, but you have to be willing to engage in that and go after it. And so that's what we're trying to do.
Well, listen, Scott, it's great to see you, man. Great to have you back on. Best of luck this season. And when I need some dancing lessons, I'll be sure to give you a call and let you know.
You can call my wife. She'll help you.